Close Order began as a prototype that was submitted to us by a programmer who was in one of his final semesters of college. We were put in the unfortunate position of having to switch projects due to resource constraints, and we were between projects looking for something new. So I tried out this little demo thinking, it's probably pretty cool, what could go wrong? You boot it up and it was two colors. It was blue and gray, and there were a bunch of blocks. There was a center block in the middle, and there were lots of blocks around it in a diamond formation. The center block was the player, and the other blocks were called minions. And you could move the minions into other shapes like a box or a pincer formation and something like the Greek phalanx formation. And you could also shoot them in synchronization so that their shots shot in sync and made pretty shapes. If you move them around, it would go from a straight line to like a diamond. And I sat there for about 20 minutes making fancy shapes, smiling like a crazy person. And by the end of it, I was telling that programmer and the rest of the team that we had our next project. A few months later, after we started to work on the project, we brought it into 3D and visualized it on a single plane in keeping with the original idea. We still kept the idea of minions. We brought the game into space and made the minions other ships around you. And we started to add a little more depth to the game. So originally we started out and we had this part system. So you killed enemies and they dropped these parts, and it took a certain combination of parts to make minions. And it worked pretty well originally, and we thought it was pretty cool, but then once we started playtesting it, everyone basically just kept mashing buttons, click, 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 until they got the minion they wanted, and then they had to memorize part combinations, and it was pretty ridiculous and not very fun. So we had a problem. We thought we had pretty good mechanics, and then fundamentally we have to change how the core of the game works in order to make it better to understand for players. Well, lo and behold, that same programmer again who brought forth the prototype came forward and said, you know what, I have this cool idea, let's make it a currency system, let's make it easy to buy minions on the fly. So the game further evolved into where it is now, where there's a radio menu containing all the minions you can buy, and you have to defeat enemies for a currency which we still call parts. Additionally, one feature that we've always kept since the very beginning, the prototype demo, is the ability to move minions around into other formations. Originally, you can only move them into preset shapes of formations, but pretty early on in the prototypes, through our first prototype after that original submission, we made it so that the ships could be moved around on a grid, and then we further evolved it to have mouse support and be able to quickly drag and drop. So the resulting game that you have today is the collection of a lot of work and ideas and iteration and testing and blood and sweat and tears, and we really hope that you enjoy the game and can see it progress further.